Have young Democrats changed the party? There's something happening inside the Democratic Party that could determine who becomes America's next president. And strangely, almost nobody's talking about it. The Democratic Party isn't simply getting younger, it's becoming a different party. Not because older Democrats suddenly changed their minds, they haven't, but because a new generation is beginning to take control. Now, before anyone gets angry, this is not an attack on younger Americans. In fact, if I were 25 years old today, trying to buy my first home, paying today's rent, carrying student debt, looking at healthcare costs, I'd probably be really angry too. Their frustrations are very real, and they deserve real solutions. But here's where I think many younger Democrats are being sold something very different from what some of them believe they're buying. Most young Democrats are not asking for government to run their lives. They're asking for a fair chance, a chance to afford a home, a chance to build a career, a chance to raise a family without feeling like they'll never get ahead. These are reasonable goals. But some of the candidates now winning Democratic primaries aren't simply talking about making life more affordable. They are talking about fundamentally changing the relationship between the individual and the government. Not reforming the system, replacing large parts of it. This is not the Democratic Party of Bill Clinton. It's not even the Democratic Party of Barack Obama. This is a movement that increasingly believes government should play a dominant role. A role in housing, healthcare, business, investment, and the economy itself. Candidates like Zohran Mamdani are no longer political outliers. They're winning. And that's a warning that the center of gravity of the inside of the Democratic Party is shifting. Now, here's the argument I hear all the time. Real socialism has never been tried. Really? What exactly was Lenin trying to build in 1917 after the Russian Revolution? What was Mao trying to build before his later years? What was Castro originally trying to build? What were the governments of Eastern Europe trying to build before the Berlin Wall came down? They were all pursuing something completely different? No. Now, before someone says that wasn't real socialism because dictators took over, well, isn't that the question exactly? Isn't that exactly what happened in every one of these? If the government keeps accumulating enormous power every time these systems are attempted, maybe that isn't simply bad luck. Maybe concentrating economic power inside government inevitably concentrates political power too. History doesn't repeat itself exactly, but history has a habit of repeating patterns. Different countries, different leaders, different slogans, the same concentration of power. Ideas should never be judged on how compassionate they sound. They should be judged by the results they produce. Now let's come back to American politics. Republicans are making plenty of mistakes too. Democrats have a genuine opportunity, but opportunities can be wasted, and I believe the Democrats are in real danger of wasting this one. If Democratic leaders mistake frustration with Republicans as an endorsement of the party's most progressive ideas, they may discover something the hard way. Most Americans are still moderates, most Americans still believe in free enterprise, and most Americans still become very uncomfortable when government becomes too large, too powerful, or too involved in their daily lives. If the Democratic Party becomes identified with its most ideological voices, the candidates winning recent primaries, the candidates calling for America to become a far more socialist country, then millions of Americans may conclude the party has gone somewhere they never intended it to go. Millions of independents, moderate Democrats, and even some younger voters may decide the Democratic Party no longer represents them. And if that happens, Republicans won't have to run a perfect campaign. They won't even have to convince Americans that they have every answer. They'll simply have to convince enough voters that they're the safer alternative. And that could hand the Republicans the White House in 2028. Not because Americans suddenly embraced everything Republicans believe, but because they concluded the Democratic Party stopped representing the political center. That's a mistake that could shape American politics for the next generation. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to this video, share it, and it really helps us with the algorithm, and we'll see you on the next one.